Welcome, bienvenue. Welcome once again to another live stream. This one, of course, featuring the big bad builders, the Cladding Matters podcast, with such luminaries such as Hamish McClay, such convey, Zara from Next Law, Wendy Gibson of the First Time Buyers Club, and of course, the incomparable Steve Day, the original caged man, buildingsafetyscheme.org, stuck his ears within Royal Artillery Quays. But we are discussing today a slight deficiency in progress. That is to say, today's topic is safety seems to be stalled. Why is remediation not moving fast? Or in my words, why the hell is it taking so damn long? Hamish McClay, in the words of my children when they were growing up, are we there yet?
Where? I think the problem is what we've got is some of these people don't know where they're going, and they haven't made the decision up exactly what they want to do with the whole fiasco, which has actually been created. And sadly, I mean, one of the things that came up this particular sort of week, which is quite appalling, really. Well, several things this week. First of all, that comment relative to what's going on in Wales, 98% of buildings haven't yet been stalled. Now, is that stalling or what? I mean, they've had since 2017, 2018, I think, the announcements. Nothing's happening. Yet everybody knows the dangers. Everybody knows there's the perils. Everybody knows the sort of damaging financial position that people are being put in. Yet, where is the action? Where's the action?
There was a film not that long ago, starring Matt Damon, about an asteroid about to hit the Earth called Don't Look Up. And it reminds me a little bit of that. Their policy at dealing with the impending problem was just don't look at it. That's what we seem to be happening here, Hamish?
Precisely. And I think probably Steve can bring us some, because it only happened, was yesterday evening, I believe, Steve. We had a council meeting, which those builders that created the mess that's been under discussion didn't even bother to turn up to discuss the matter. So, of course, if they're not going to be there, that's going to require another meeting. And meetings and meetings and meetings.
Well, let me throw Steve into the crucible. What gives, Steve?
Well, so we had a big meeting yesterday, a really big meeting, actually. So around 70 residents from Royal Artillery Quays joined an online meeting with various councillors from Greenwich Council, including the leader of the council and the leader for council for building safety and a lawyer from the council. Then we had the deputy assistant commissioner from the London Fire Brigade, another fire expert from the fire brigade. The building safety regulator turned up with two senior people, and we were very surprised that the builder that caused an enforcement notice, which is the most serious other and full evacuation notice that the fire brigade can muster, they didn't turn up. They declined to turn up, because why would a builder care if an enforcement notice has been issued? You know, Barratt should hang their head in shame for not.
Is this monstrous hubris? Is this complete bombastic lack of attention to what's really going on around them? Or is this just idiocy?
I think it's neither. I think it's just they don't particularly mind, because they're well protected. They are the master builder. They've got a 35% defect rate, but that didn't stop the government issuing them this very prestigious status. And they don't particularly want to do anything more than the watered down remediation standard, PAS 9980, makes them do. And they keep saying, our position hasn't changed, and showed such contempt, because their position jolly well should have changed after the London Fire Brigade enforcement issued a notice. Their position should have changed, but it has not.
It appears to be a matter of mind over matter. They don't mind, and you don't matter.
That's right. But anyway, today is a prestigious day in building safety, because the Public Accounts Committee released a report into their view of the building safety regime. And so I'll read out a little bit. So Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown, he was the chair of the committee, looked into how the government's handled this. And he says that the Grenfell Tower fire would have to be a badge of shame for our nation. Residents were let down by failings at every level. So then they comment on how MHCLG, the government, has handled everything. So MHCLG's remediation acceleration plan lacks ambition. It fails to address the impact of non-cladding defects on progress, and will not make product manufacturers contribute. So they've largely got out of it. There's a large number of barriers to successful remediations. And as we've been looking at in quite a lot of detail on Cladding Matters, we've looked at PAS. So they say that the PAS 9980 standard should be addressed, and that the risk for insurance for buildings remediated in accordance with the standard needs to be resolved. And that can really only be resolved by removing the risk, as we've said long and hard. But the Public Accounts Committee has picked up on the, PAS being a substandard standard, which is great. They want the government to address these issues. They also say they need to bring in the cladding manufacturers into the levy. And they also says that everyone should be protected, irrespective of if it's cladding or other building safety risks. So they've largely backed, without mentioning the Earl's scheme, the work that we're doing. And of course, we're sitting there with a legislative solution that will basically address all the Public Accounts Committee's recommendations all in one shot. So let's give it a shot. That's what I say. I think you might be on mute, Gareth.
He's certainly gone quiet, hasn't he?
That's only because he's on mute.
Well, I'm so sorry about that. Look, I'm going to pass over to our team solicitor, Zara. Zara, seeing as Steve says, we've got all the political machinations in place, surely it should be no more than a hop, skip and a jump to get this all. But we need everybody to play ball.
You would have thought so, but there's other powers at play that just want build, build, build. It doesn't matter the quality. So all these warranties that were being handed over in the conveyancing process, they're not worth the piece of paper they're printed on.
Well, that's just rubbish. I mean, forgive me. I'm sorry.
It is rubbish, and people deserve better. To have a right to a safe home without having to spend hundreds of thousands taking developers to court.
I think this is what Microsoft used to refer to as an undocumented feature. Wendy, surely in the world you inhabit, this sort of thing is just ridiculous. Insanity. All those places that could be used as for first-time buyers, completely invalid because, frankly, they're not fit for human habitation.
Yeah, I, hand on heart, can't recommend any first-time buyer that I'm providing support through the home buying process. I can't recommend that they buy any of these flats because they come with a long-term life sentence, either through high fees because of insurance costs, or they might end up having to pay for some of the remedial work from the cladding issues, let alone any other defects that come to light during that process, which it seems to be more and more prevalent that there are, undiscovered defects as people start peeling back the layers of the onion.
Good Lord. And these layers of onion apparently smell strong. Hamish, surely we must be close to coming to a point where we say no more. We need to get this enforced, and perhaps the legal powers that be will swing into play and compel these builders to do the right thing.
One would like to think so. But strangely, this week, we had this particular announcement, and I don't actually have a notice to who it was, but they actually stated that the building safety regulator delays are leading to job losses and wasteful training methods impacting 1.5 million homes, MPs were told. The idea then, the report that came out of Grenfell suggesting that this was regulated, we need to bear in mind, it was the builders' incompetence in the first place. They're cutting corners. They're putting their residents at risk. that caused the challenge, which created the need to bring in regulation to actually ensure that people were going to live in a safe and comfortable sort of habitat. But they want to water it down. And so how are we actually moving forward if they're calling for that whole thing to be? Why shouldn't it be regulated? Now, the big challenge is, and of course the government are doing this all the time in so many other areas too, we don't have enough regulators. And how long does it take? And it's a little bit like we were sort of speaking to, and I mean, Zara's sort of situation, because of the shortage of quality conveyancing lawyers, we've got this sort of challenge. It puts those quality lawyers under pressure because they're having to do so much extra work because of the mess that's been created with things like the Building Safety Act. So if you like, there's just so much pressure there without the adequate sort of qualified people around us to sort of cope with this. And that's got to be slowing things down. So was it 2027 that we've actually been told that everything will be resolved by? 47, I think, is a more likely target, or 50. I can't, if they're dithering like this, when you think how long they've had to actually look into it.
Well, it just seems to me that the expression "can" being kicked down the road, please rearrange well-known phrase, it appears to be the standard of the day. As Zara keeps pointing out, to be quite rightly, our sweet Labour government, we've been waiting so long to get into power, so 14 years they've had to pontificate about this, and now they're in power, they're talking about removing more bureaucracy and red tape, which sounds like a good idea, but it's just going to perpetuate a dithering circle. They're going to keep going around in a circle, never quite going forward. It just seems a ridiculous set of circumstances, surely.
Well,
Zara, tell me, there's got to be a way through this.
Well, we need the Earl of Lytton's building safety scheme, don't we?
Aha. Well, you've been closely acquainted with this. How would adopting the Earl of Lytton's safety scheme benefit in the short term, as far as this is concerned?
Well, then there's that reassurance that there's some money in the pot, so that people who've bought innocently from a developer, regardless of size, the strategy is that they set up a company, sell these properties, and then dissolve the company. So if they're trying to take legal action, there's no money there. So at least then there's some money in a government pot that can be used to fix these buildings.
Well, in the words of Stormzy, don't forget about Grenfell. Wendy, surely how can we move forward until we have some sort of resolution? And it does sound like the Earl of Lytton's paper and also findings will actually help everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, this is not even a new issue about poor building quality. Going back to the home building or the homeowner's warranty that people get, also known as an NHBC warranty that people get on homes when they first buy them, new homes I'm talking about. That's been around since what, the 1920s, 1930s? That was brought in place because of poor quality of work then. What has changed? Not much since. So, or Zara's saying the 1980s, that's still decades ago. So what has changed? I think we need to stop all this prevarication and as Elvis used to sing, little less conversation, a little bit more action.
Yes, quite right. A little bit less conversation, a little more action. I think that is probably the order of the day. Hamish, would you care to take us home? If you can find a positive spin, I will give you large quantities of money. Oh dear.
I don't. When we actually sort of have coming into this, and it's sort of interesting because this came up in the comments. I can't remember who actually sort of mentioned it. We're speaking about, if you like, a specific set of buildings, the Royal Artillery Quays. We're doing that because it's a focus point, and of course, stuck in that is Steve himself, who's been trying so very, very hard because once that issue is resolved there, that can be carried forward to help other people in different situations. And it's not just cladding matters, because there's some serious issues now in buildings that were constructed out of concrete. They're starting to fall apart. There's cracks appearing in these multi-story sort of flats, and they've got exactly the similar sort of, something has got to be done about it. And people are saying, oh, there's a crack. Well, that really doesn't resolve the issue.
No.
Taking us home, there are a lot of people that need to be cared for. And when we actually sort of, we're speaking about a caring society, allegedly. Well, we used to be.
Well, it appears to me that the light at the end of the tunnel has been switched off to save energy, but I think it would be nice if it was still there, even a bare flicker. Let me say thanks once again to our esteemed Lord and Martyr Hamish McLeod, of course, Wendy Gibson of First Time Buyers Club, our Thames Lister, Zara of Next to Law, and of course, Steve Day, Fighting the Good Fight, buildingsafetyscheme.org, and to all of you. I promise you, if we push forward and we get the Earl of Lytton scheme in place, it will be net gain for us all. Please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and we will have a better day. We're just going to keep powering through. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
There's a tale about some folks with hammers and some nails. They'll polish through the moon, but they're